2023 Police Superintendents Association. It's a real privilege for me to stand here before you to open the conference. It's going to be a fantastic event, and we didn't have one last year. And sadly, of course, Her Majesty died a few days just before our conference, and we took the decision, a difficult decision, to cancel the conference, which was the right thing for us to do at the time. So interestingly, we've just had the first delegates welcome to those that have not been to conference before, and it's the busiest we've ever had, because obviously there were people that were going to come last year that didn't. So we're very pleased to see you all. We've got a fantastic few days ahead. We've got some really key voices within policing that have influence in policing at the most senior level. We did invite the Home Secretary 6 months ago, and within a week she said she wasn't going to come, which is a bit disappointing for us, I have to say. But we do have Policing Minister Chris Philp, who actually we've been really well engaged with over the last 18 months, who is going to speak. Again, unfortunately, just last minute, he's not coming in person, but he is going to be online, and it's hopefully going to be as engaging anyway. Shadow Home Secretary Yvette Cooper is coming, and she's coming in person, so she might make comment about that. I don't know, but that's a matter for her. So please, we want you to interact. We've got, with the quality speakers, we've got the panels we're discussing, ask the questions, and so that you can get the answers that you want, or the answers you might not get, or might not want, that our colleagues say. And network as well. You'll be sitting on people, I'm sitting on people. You're not allowed to sit on people. But you'll be sitting on tables, and we'll be eating this evening and tomorrow, and so please network and get to know people from around the country. So this is my first conference. It was supposed to be last year. Now, last year was our 70th anniversary, and we were going to make a big thing about that. 71 years of representing superintendents and also influencing policing. So it's something that we can be proud of as an association. Now, with the 7 decades of support we've actually got, and Paul Griffiths has made sure I've got to say this, we've got the Police History Society that Paul is chair of. We've actually got some things from the last 70 years relating to the PSA, and there's a chain of office apparently. I don't know whether I'm allowed to wear it, but that's 70 years old, and you can have a look at that. Now, what we did last year as part of the 70th anniversary is we put together a video. So what I'd like to do is play that video now, if you can indulge me in that as well, and I think you'll find it quite interesting. So if you can play the video, please.
Superintendents have been meeting for over 100 years. It's 70 years ago that the Police Superintendents Association was formulated, and actually what's quite interesting is that the original meeting that took place with the National Executive Committee at the time, the agenda items aren't too different from what we're dealing with now, particularly around paying conditions for our superintendents and their pensions, and also how they're looked after, their welfare and their well-being as well, which is something that is very much a priority for me over the next 3 years.
Superintendents have been around since the formation of the Metropolitan Police in 1829, but it wasn't until the early 20th century and around 1919 when the police actually went on strike, and as a result the Police Federation were formed up to the rank of Chief Inspector, and of course, as you can imagine, superintendents at the time were saying to the government, well, where's our representation? Where's our link with the government? And it wasn't until the following year, in 1920, did the HMRC, as they were then, call a meeting of superintendents, and they elected their very first chair, which was a gentleman called Charles Dawson from Liverpool City Police, who was the very first resident in role. And they played a role then on the police council that was formed to provide a relationship between the government and the police workforce over pay, pensions and conditions.
The role of the association was twofold in my view. It was first of all to provide a voice for senior officers in the police service to actually influence government and politicians and ministers and try and shape the way the law is going for the benefit of everybody. But it was also about looking after the membership.
It's very much all about looking after the interests of people who do really, really difficult jobs in challenging environments.
The priority for me is to make sure that my colleagues are properly remunerated in terms of their pay and conditions. And it's also important that they're properly trained, they're properly supported in their welfare and well-being.
And it's fundamental to, I think, to the success of the association is to be able to form relationships and engage with the key opinion formers.
I think I class myself as a stateswoman because you are literally meeting lots of people at really senior level.
We had a very close working relationship with the Home Office. We had almost direct access to the then Home Secretary and the Policing Minister. We used to meet with them regularly, both formally and informally. And I'd like to think that we had a lot of influence.
And I think we raised the ante in terms of the image of what the Police Superintendents Association was and what it stood for.
My proudest moment, I guess, when I was the National Secretary was negotiating the pay rise that came into effect in 2004, because we spent almost 2 years negotiating that particular rise, and it was a bit of a watershed, really, in terms of the pay of senior officers in the force.
Mental health, that was one of my priorities. And the government did implement a mental health review during the period of my time as president.
I gave this speech in front of Jack Straw, demanding that the rule of double jeopardy was a nonsense and it should be looked at again. It was important to keep the media pot boiling, as it were. If you want to change things, you've got to win the public over. The problem now, of course, is we've got social media, which gives a negative message quite often. We use the certainly traditional media to the nth degree, and it worked wonders. So I was very proud of that period.
The Home Secretary did ask me to conduct a national review of performance targets in policing during my final year, which I concluded. And she actually agreed with us that there was no place for targets in policing, and she encouraged police and crime commissioners who were in place by then and chief constables to remove targets from their policing plans.
We value diversity, and the PSA has come a long way in terms of recognising that and actually making sure more of our members are from diverse backgrounds.
We went to innumerable meetings with Tom Windsor and his team and thrashed out what became the new raft of police terms and conditions of service known as the Windsor Review.
We're in austerity, the cost of living, people haven't had a pay rise in a number of years.
There are colleagues retiring at the moment on the wrong pensions, which just cannot be right.
It's a tremendous responsibility, but it's also a tremendous privilege that your colleagues who are still doing the day job invest the trust in you.
The Police Superintendents Association will continue to be a strong and influential voice for policing overall, and what I mean by that is developing ideas, helping government and senior leaders and developing policy and thinking around policing itself. But probably more importantly, being that strong, influential voice, being the voice for superintendents and chief superintendents up and down the country.
We all joined the police whenever we did in order to make the public safe.
The people who join want to do the best thing for the public. They want to protect people. They want to be there to make a difference. Working for an organisation that has got so much influence and is a real force for good is a real privilege.
It's a real privilege to be in a role where we can have real influence, not just on supporting supers with their pay and conditions, which is really our priority, but also making a difference in policing and how we deliver policing to our communities.
Policing is changing and we need to adapt with it.
Great, we've got to use it. And I'll point out as well, sadly, Ian Johnston, one of our former presidents, passed away in the last year, so our thoughts are with his family and remain with his family and colleagues as well. Dan's already said, exhibitors, they paid lots of money to come here, please engage. They've got lots of free gifts, and so those into mumping, fill your bags, and there's sweets and stuff as well. So please engage with them. We've got our awards tomorrow, really proud of the setup. Harvey's going to be hosting it for us tomorrow. We've got some fantastic winners. We had more nominations than we've ever had before, so I really appreciate and thank you for that as well. We've got Police Care UK that are here. They're my charity for this year, so we are going to look at trying to raise some money for them at well, you can donate now actually on the app, but there'll be something on your table that you can scan in. No cash anymore, but we'll take cash if anyone's got it. And Dan's already talked about how you share your thoughts. So we want you to ask questions, to challenge. You know, we know you'll be positive, but we also want you to enjoy it as well. So it's going to be a fantastic conference. So now I'm going to hand over to Samina Ali Khan. Samina's who's a friend to the association, and those that have been to conference before would have seen her do a fantastic job. So very high expectations, Samina. So I'll hand over to you. But thanks very much, everyone. Enjoy.